this fantasy. He used to believe in something. What happened? Mills for liberty. Gnostic sex cult, building his own world. A Gnostic sex cult, one inch from reality. Totally lost it. What can we do? The mocking relentlessly. It's not a Gnostic sex cult, James. No, it's not. Stop lying to your audience. No, it's not. It's not Gnostic change. Get a grip. Mary Nardini tells us queer liberation means the annihilation of capitalism. Catch up, James. Whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. Whoa. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. It's capitalism. To pocket all that money from the mills for liberty. The left hates capitalism, but James won't admit it. He refuses to believe queer theory stabilizes normativity, gender binary, and the nuclear family. But James blocks the truth, smears people who try to show him, creates an echo chamber for himself to reinforce his fantasy. Is to believe in something. What happens for liberty? Gnostic sex cult, building his own world. The Gnostic sex cult, unhinged from reality. He's totally lost it. What can we do but mock him relentlessly?
Hello, fellow Gnostic sex cultists. Happy Monday. Welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and on Rumble, where we do deep dives into the radical revolutionary far left. We talk about how the left is controlling every major institution, how they took over the K-12 schools, what the hell does gender ideology mean, what does queer have to do with it, critical race theory, abolish the family, all the good stuff. All the most dystopian stuff in the world is what we tackle here. I will show you things that no one else on the internet is showing you. And because we go to the primary source, we go to their trainings, we go to their exercises, we go to their workshops, we go to their meetings, we go to all their stuff. My audience is about 1 to 2 years ahead of every conservative commentator, of every pundit, of every influencer. We know things that are happening that you will typically only find out about a year or two from now if you're listening to Libs of TikTok and James Lindsay and Fox News and the Daily Wire and all that stuff. Because we're at the tip of the spear. Everyone else is behind us. And this just keeps getting proven true time and time and time and time and time again. In fact, we actually do. This is actually true. We actually, because we spend so much time deep diving into the left, we know the left better than the left does. That's really scary because, and the reason that's true is there are all these different factions that exist on the left. And so when you're on the left, you're in one of those factions, you're in one of those echo chambers. Well, guess what? We look at all of them. And so we know what the other factions and the other contingents on the left are doing, oftentimes before the socialists even know what's going on. So if you want to know what's coming, this is the only place on the internet that's covering it. And listen, guys, I just want to say, I cannot believe it's July. I think it's a big wake-up call for me that it's July. I've been a little distracted the past couple of months. I have been a little distracted, and I want everyone to know that I kind of made some decisions over the weekend in terms of like the obsession needs to come back. I think that one of the reasons that my audience literally knows more than every other audience that is interested in the left is because there are times when I am truly and sincerely obsessed with it. It is all I think about. It is all I focus on. It is all I do. I've got all these different projects going on that have, quite frankly, and this is my fault, this is no one else's fault, this is my fault, been kind of pushed aside. Not totally, they've always been there, but like I feel like we should have made so much more progress than we actually have, and that's my fault because I got distracted. That's my fault because I, for a little while, lost that obsession. It wasn't that I wasn't showing up. It wasn't that I wasn't creating content. It wasn't that I wasn't keeping an eye on things. But there is a difference in intensity when I am focused and obsessed with something than there is when I have distraction. And I want to acknowledge that. I mean, listen, man, I'm only human. I'm a content creator on the internet. Sometimes there are things that come up that I have to deal with. Sometimes there are things that come up that, quite frankly, just pull me away from the things I should be focused on. But it is my hope that as we enter the back half of the year, and again, I seriously cannot believe we have 6 months left of this year. There's a lot to accomplish. There's a lot to do, and we got to get our asses in gear, and it's time to really kind of like really dig in and really go for it. And the thing of it is, last week, we've known for a while that James Lindsay has been trying to sabotage like my stuff. We've known that for a while. We've known for a while that James Lindsay had me on some sort of like blacklist where he wasn't gonna like even acknowledge what I was doing. We've known for a while that conservative influencers were just not going to touch it because of all of the shenanigans that go on the. We've known that for a while, okay? But last week we got absolute confirmation of that because last week, if you guys missed it, let me just pull up the thing just in case. I did put a video on the channel. I wrote an article about it for the Substack. But last week we got absolute and total confirmation of this when James Lindsay publicly told Not the Bee that they shouldn't even credit my work, even when everyone knows it came from me, even when everyone admits it came from me. No, he, according to him, I should not receive credit for any of the work I do. Now, I don't want people to feel defeated by this. I want people to feel energized by this. Because here's what I know. I know that I have an audience of dedicated people. I know that I have an audience that knows more about this stuff currently than James Lindsay does. I know that I have an audience that will sit here with me for hours a day watching far left socialism just to research, digging through these files, digging through all this boring shit just to put things together. And I know I'm a better teacher of what the left is doing than anyone else on the internet. And that is the goal, ultimately, guys. I view it as my goal to show up and to download what I know to all of you and to teach you how to explain it in the most simple possible way. And then the point of that is that we all need to go out into the world and teach other people what we know. Well, when we started doing that last year on the back of because here's what we used to do. We actually used to take James's tweets and translate them into something that normal people would understand. This is before James started blocking all of us on Twitter. So we would take James Lindsay's tweets, which are not written in a way that normal people can understand, and we would rewrite them. We would make sure terms were clear. If James got stuff wrong, which he often did, we would make sure to edit that. We would go into James's replies, teach people about what was going on. The point was always to take what we see happening in the real world and make sure other people know what is happening in the real world. Well, apparently, James Lindsay doesn't like when we do that. James Lindsay doesn't like that my audience is out there actually teaching people what all this stuff means in a way that he doesn't personally approve of because he doesn't understand it as well as we do. And the reason that James doesn't understand it as well as we do is because James is focused entirely on cherry picking philosophy papers, whereas we focus entirely on what is going on in the real world, the actual trainings that are happening, the actual classes, the actual book launches, the actual organizations, the full form content. We don't cherry pick shit based on a narrative. We look at all of it from start to finish to identify the themes, identify what's going on in the world, and to be able to articulate that information to normal people so that when they go in the world, they can understand what's going on. That is the point of all of this. The fact of the matter is, and anyone who has followed my content for any time at all understands emphatically that most people on the conservative right, most people who consider themselves so-called anti-woke, they have no idea what the left is actually saying and doing in the real world because they only look at cherry-picked philosophy papers written by dead people. And because they have no idea what's going on in the world and they have no idea what the left is actually up to and they have no idea how to speak the left's language, there is no way in this lifetime they are ever going to be able to beat the left because they do not understand their enemy. The biggest challenge that we all have in terms of getting this information into the hands of normal people are the people who claim to care about this stuff on Twitter, but then do nothing in terms of actually dealing with what is going on in the real world right now. And so I don't want people to be depressed by the fact that James Lindsay in public is trying to cancel what we're all doing, because this isn't just about me. He hates all of you too. Remember how he blocked all of you from the new discourses chat just because you were trying to teach people what queer theory meant in plain English, which James absolutely was not doing. He doesn't just hate me, he hates all of you too. Yeah, so you ordered my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. Ignore the last chapter of that book. That chapter was written before James Lindsay became a paid shill. There is actually practical stuff in there, though, but what I will say is that book is old. I wrote that book at the beginning of 2021. I wrote that book 3 years ago. So and I stand by it, man. That book holds up. I really do. I think it's if you're introductory to this topic, it was meant to be written for people that are at a very basic level that don't understand what's going on. So I do think it holds up. But I am working on another book right now, and of course I'm doing stuff on the Substack and all that. That's going to be much more recent, much more current. But hey, if you want to buy the book, I'm not going to be upset about it. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. I did a lot of thinking about this over the weekend because on Friday we had a stream where, it became very obvious again that everything that I've been saying for years is correct based on what the left is teaching, not based on anything other than what the left is teaching. And it was a little depressing at the end of that stream because I felt like I had been screaming this for 2 years. It's one of those times, and this happens every so often, where I've been screaming something literally for years and no one's listening. And then all of a sudden I get smacked in the face with the fact that I'm absolutely 100% correct. And that people like James are trying to prevent normal people from understanding the truth because he wants to sell books. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. Well, James Jones, actually, if you want to know more about the book right now, you can actually follow it as I'm writing it. Head over to speaksocialist.substack.com. I'm writing this. I'm not doing this the way that normal books are published this time because quite frankly, normal book publishing sucks. In normal book publishing, once I finish a manuscript, it takes at least a year, closer to 18 months for that manuscript to actually make its way into the world. So you right now can get access to my next book literally as I'm writing it. And I got to get back, like, I've got a whole bunch of drafts written for this. I got to get into a regular posting rhythm with this, and that's going to be coming too. But I'm writing my next book publicly, so you can actually have access to my draft content as it's written. You can give feedback, you can ask questions, you can give different ideas, that sort of thing. This is a premium thing, so it does cost money to sign up for. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. That is how I'm going to fund this because normal book publishing sucks. I don't want people to have to wait. The content for this will eventually get turned into a real book, but I'm taking my time with this one. My last couple books I had to write really, really quickly, and that sucked. So because I'm doing this in public, you can find it there. There's also audio versions of the book. Anyway, back to this. So I made some decisions over the weekend that now that all of the big tech stuff is behind us, fingers crossed, hopefully, and now that I have at least some closure on some things that have been plaguing me the last couple years, and now that AFPAC is done and the Groypers are under control and no one is actually like everything that's been distracting me kind of got wrapped up into a nice little fucking bow. Now I'm back here. And I view it as my job to get obsessed with this again. Because when I'm obsessed with this, listen, there's no one better than me teaching this stuff on like an average day. Even as I've been distracted for the last couple months, I am still the best person on the internet teaching this stuff. And if you think there's anyone better, let me know who they are because I would love to talk to them. I do mean that. I'm not just trying to like toot my own horn here. Even when I am distracted, I am still the best person on the internet teaching this stuff today. But what I want to do now is I want to crank it into high gear. Because now we know what we're up against. Now we know how desperate the conservative establishment is to protect their narrative, that they are actually censoring information and gatekeeping ideas, when even everyone admits that I am where the things are coming from, that I'm the one that's finding it, that I'm the one that's reporting on it. Everyone knows this is true, and they are still preventing their audience from knowing where it came from. So what I want to say to you guys is this. I need your help. I need your help in getting this content out there. I need your help in creating a grassroots movement. And I will show up for you guys and I will give you as many resources as I can. And I will help you in any way that I can, as long as you show up for me. What we need is we need a grassroots army. We need people out there who are sharing the content, reply guying with the content, making sure the content has like all the basics, like the likes, the retweets, all this stuff. Every time I post something on Twitter, I need people retweeting it and sharing it and tagging it and all this stuff. Every time you guys see someone talking about this, I need people replying and sharing the content. I need this happening for the Substack. I need this happening for the videos. I need people making clips. I need all sorts of stuff. And I'm not saying that everyone has to do everything because that's not reasonable. But if you can do some things, like coming in when you come on a video, click the like button, make sure you're subscribed, share it out to your audience, go on Twitter, retweet the live stream on Twitter, because every time you guys retweet the live stream, more people find it. Share the articles, share the videos. When we make clips, do stuff like that. There's all sorts of ways in which people can help that are very, 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 very simple. But we now know and have absolute confirmation that if normal people don't show up, I know that a lot of you value my content. I know. I don't even know who this is. Can we please focus. I have no idea who this is. There is no point in me doing stuff like this, guys. Can we please focus? I am not interested in talking with influencers who have no idea what I'm doing, who don't care what I'm doing, who are not going to share this information out there, who just want to promote themselves. I have no interest at all. This is not what we're doing. Our goal has got to be to get in front of normal people. Our goal has to get more people coming to the streams, to get more people coming to Socialism Saturday. Our goal has got to get more people on the Substack mailing list, to get more people reading the articles, to get more people sharing the information, to get more people showing up in their communities, teaching about this stuff. That is what the goal is. The goal is not social media clout. The goal is not impressing low IQ podcasters on the fucking internet. All of that is bullshit. And believe me, I know. I've been in that particular machine. All of it is bullshit. Our goal is getting in front of normal people who want to learn, who aren't looking at this as some sort of entertainment. See, this is part of the problem. James Lindsay and all of his sycophantic followers who have no idea what they're talking about. I would put my audience against James Lindsay's audience in terms of general knowledge about the left every single day of the week, and it wouldn't even be close. That's because the people that he runs with, they're using this for entertainment. They think that this is a game. They think that this is about owning the libs. I do not think this is about owning the libs. I think this is about fucking winning. I think this is about waking up a population of people that's been asleep to what the left is doing for a very, 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 very long time. I think this is about finding people who are serious about understanding what is going on in the world. Not because they feel like it's making them morally superior to the libs, but because they actually care about solving the problem. That is the audience that I want. I don't want an audience like Tim Pool's audience. I don't want an audience like Styx Hexenhammer's audience. I don't want an audience like the Quartering's audience. That's all bullshit. I cannot emphasize this enough. That is all bullshit. It's hero worship. It's this cult of personality. It is not something that I want. I don't care if you like me or hate me. I care that you show up and you learn. Why would I care about that? I don't care what people think about my community. I don't care at all. I care that the information gets out there and more people start accessing it. My community is completely diverse. Hang on a second. My community has all sorts of people in it. From the dissident right all the way over. There are communists and socialists who watch my content. I have everyone. I have young, I have old, I have men, I have women, I have independents, libertarians, disaffected lefties, conservatives. I have everything. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you agree with me on political issues or you don't. If you want to learn what the far left is doing, if you want to learn and you want to share with others what you're learning, then you're welcome here. And that's it. That's it. So here's what we're going to be doing, guys. I'm going to be putting together some apparatuses, and honestly, all this stuff is already in place. Like, I'm so lucky. All this stuff is already in place for the most part. There's all sorts of things going on in my Discord. I've already got the Substack running. We've already got the daily streams running. We've already got so much stuff that we have to work with. Like, so for example, we've already got the Unwoke wiki, and we got to get back on this. This is where we are going to be cataloging all of the primary source information. I've got Bot and Reagan in the Unwoke Wiki right now. I think Judy might be in there too. We kind of let this project die a little bit. That's okay. We can always come back to it. But we need to get the Unwoke Wiki project up and running again. That's something I'm going to need people for. We need to continue to build out and organize around the Unwoke Underground project. The Unwoke Underground project is where we're putting zines and flyers that people are creating, and you can print off these designs and you can do whatever you want with them. Just don't edit them. And these are things that people in my community are creating that you can print off and leave in your community. People are making pamphlets that you can hand out. We've got stickers that you can, like, all this stuff is just available. And what this is for is to go into your community and actually just leave things around in places like, hang on, I'll show you. Put them up on billboards. We're going to do this fall when students are coming back to campuses. We're going to do a day in which, or a weekend in which, I want people to be printing off the Unwoke Underground stuff, and I want everyone to go to college campuses near them, put it on the billboards, put it up next to all the new student stuff. Like, bring it to coffee shops, bring it to music stores, bring it to bookstores, bring it to dispensaries, bring it to any place in which people, supermarkets, like whatever, it doesn't really matter. We're going to create a whole bunch of materials, and we've already got a bunch already, but there's going to be more that you can put this stuff out there, take a picture of it, and then send it back. And I want to create a whole catalog. I want every single time that the revolutionary communists of America are out on college campuses with these stickers of Karl Marx pointing at the camera saying, "Are you a communist?" I want to have Unwoke Underground stuff right next to that, because the communists are stickering college campuses. They're putting flyers all over college campuses. They're recruiting there. We can do exactly the same thing, and our shit looks cool. This doesn't look like typical conservative stuff, because it's not typical conservative stuff. It's not even being created by conservatives. This looks cool. This looks like something people want to interact with. We're going to be doing that. I got a Telegram channel that I just started that I'd like everyone to join if you want notifications sent to your phone. It's t.me/unwokex. I'll put the link in the chat. Join there. That's where I'm going to be posting updates when I write new articles, when I go lives, stuff like that. And we got all sorts of other stuff too, guys. And so the biggest thing I want people to know is that no one is coming to save us. There's basically no one on the conservative right that takes this seriously. If they did, they wouldn't be hiding our content. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say there's no one. There's just very, 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 very few people. There's very few real people. Now, we have more allies than we did several months ago. And so I think it's a matter of harnessing all the resources we have and pushing out there to find people who are serious about this. Because I have a hard time believing, if people have the choice between fucking around on the internet, which is what most of the conservative influencers and the podcast hosts and all this stuff, I have a hard time believing that people would choose fucking around on the internet over real information that they can use in the real world to help and protect their children. I have a hard time believing that choice is difficult. But they have to know about us. This is the biggest problem. They have to know what we're doing. And once people find out, and we've seen this time and time and time and time and time again, once people find out what we're doing, and I'm using the term we deliberately, this is not just me. I might be the one on the video. I might be the one writing the content. But this is not just me. This has never been just me. This is everyone who shows up, everyone who does research, everyone who participates. Like, we're not collectivists. We're individuals that are choosing to work together, right? This isn't a real cult. That's to make fun of people who are stupid enough to believe that this is actually a cult and I'm some sort of cult leader. But we're all participating in this. People are finding information, they're putting in the Discord, they're sharing it out. People are doing research, they're creating designs, they're creating flyers and stickers and t-shirts and like all this stuff. People are reply guying all over the place to make sure it's out there. People are sharing the information they know. People come from my community and go give speeches in their community teaching people how to speak socialist. This is not me. This is we. And we need to find more people like us who take this seriously. And I will show up and I will give you guys the content and I will break it down in the very best way that I can. But I need you guys to show up in terms of getting it out there and making sure you're communicating it. And even if you feel like I don't have a platform, I'm a nobody, I don't know what I'm doing, that's okay. That's not, first of all, that's not even true. Because every time you share something, that's an opportunity to get, like, you, even if you only have one person following you, that's still one person. And when you share, when you show up, and when you put this stuff over and over and over again, that's how movements grow. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff this month. We're going to be reviving a lot of stuff. And we're going to be refocusing. And I don't want any fucking excuses. I would share it with my family, but they're ultra-Zionists. The vast majority of stuff we talk about on this channel has nothing to do with that. And I am sick and tired of people giving me reasons why they can't share this content. If you're showing up, if you value it, if you appreciate it, and you're saying, well, here are all the reasons that I can't share it for X, Y, B, and Z, you might as well get the fuck out. You are not useful to me. If you refuse to show up and share the information that you are finding valuable because you're going to make a laundry list of reasons why you can't, then just go somewhere else, bro. You're not useful to me. I am now only interested in people who are actually willing to do what's required to get this information out. And that is the investment that I'm making. I'm making this investment in my time and my energy because I know that the vast majority of people who show up, they actually give a fuck. If you don't give a fuck, go watch the Daily Wire. They will lie to you and take your money every single day of the week, and everyone will be happier. Do you have any more orders, my supreme leader? No, not right now. Not right now. So guys, over on the Substack, I do have an article. I've been saying I'm going to write this for a while, and I finally got around to it. Apologies for it taking so long. If you need something to share out, start with this. What Queers for Palestine means. Because this is one of those things where if you understand the language of the left, it is very, very clear what this means. And a lot of people think they understand the language of the left. And then I see New York Post articles like this. Socialist NYC Congresswoman claims queer liberation is tied to free Palestine. And the New York Post wrote this whole article being very, very, very confused about why would queer liberation possibly be tied to free Palestine? We just don't understand this. How could this possibly be? Does anyone here want to answer what the New York Post doesn't know? Why is queer liberation tied to free Palestine? Pop quiz for the chat. Show me that you're smarter than the New York Post. Why is queer liberation tied to free Palestine? What does Queers for Palestine mean? If you understand this, you will understand the left. What does Queers for Palestine mean? All right. I know why you're answering it this way, but this is not a good answer. I know why you're answering it this way, but this is not a good answer. This is a good answer for me because I know what you're saying. Normal people do not understand this, guys. I know that you're taking my talking points and you're repeating them, but normal people do not understand this. We are not free until everyone is free. What the fuck does that even mean? It's okay for here. It's not okay for the real world. So everyone who said this, I need you to edit your answer right now. I need you to edit your answer and send it back in. Send me something that normal people will understand. Do not just regurgitate my talking points. I feel like I've been beating this horse over and over and over again. Do not just regurgitate my talking points. I need something normal people can understand. When they say free, they mean free from capitalism. Exactly. Because no one is free until capitalism is abolished. Exactly. James Jones, that is a completely incorrect answer. No one is free until we are all free, decolonized. Okay, that's not a good answer. No one is free. Like this is not a good answer. Wrong answer. Completely and totally incorrect. You haven't been around for a while. What Queers for Palestine means is no one is free until everyone is free from the oppressive force of capitalism. I am ignoring every single answer that says no one is free until everyone is free. That doesn't mean anything to normal people. They see Israel as upholding the capitalist system that is oppressive. Yes. Because they want free Palestine from the oppressive colonizing capitalists, and queer means against capitalism. Exactly. They view Palestine as an oppressed collective. Queer is a far-left political identity. Yes. Queers are oppressed by capitalism and Palestinians are oppressed by colonization. Well, colonization also means capitalism, doesn't it? They think that Israel is a vehicle for capitalism. Decolonization is freeing it from capitalism. That doesn't speak to the queer piece, but that is correct for the Palestinian piece. Because they identify with the colonized Palestinians against the capitalist oppressor? Yes. Palestine is being oppressed by Israel, which they see as capitalist oppressors. Queer means going against capitalism. Yes, exactly. Much, much better, guys. Thank you. Queer is a political ideology. It's not about sexuality. Because they want release from their oppression under a capitalist imperialist system. Because the queers define themselves as a victim of capitalism and they see Palestinians as also victims of capitalism. That's where the term solidarity comes from. Awesome. Well done. Awesome. The Palestinians are the underdog struggling against capitalism. I wouldn't say they are the underdog necessarily. I would say they're the proletariat. They're the oppressed. But generally speaking, correct. They believe that Palestine is under the oppressive boot of capitalism. See, now we're cooking, right? Israel, see, I just have to yell at you sometimes, guys, and now we're cooking. Israel installed capitalism on when they colonized the area. Queers are for the abolition of normalcy and capitalism is considered the norm. Yes. They see Israel as the oppressive force, the colonists, the settlers are part of the capitalist system. Yes. They are tied together because they are fighting capitalism and colonial oppressors. Yes. Palestine is under the oppressive control of capitalism, and all who are not normative are also being oppressed by capitalism, which forces normativity on all. Exactly. Well done. The land of Palestine was colonized and privatized through the oppressive force of capitalism, and being queer is a far-left political ideology where they believe they aren't free until capitalism is gone. Beautiful. Perfect. Perfect. Do you guys see the difference between just regurgitating the talking point? No one is free until everyone is free. That doesn't mean anything. This means something. It might be a little complicated, and you're gonna have to define the term capitalism. You're gonna have to really but this means more than just saying no one is free until everyone is free. If you just go up to a person on the street and say no one is free until everyone is free, they have no fucking clue what that means. So we got to be more specific. We've got to be more artful in the way we're articulating this. Israel works with the USA and the US capitalism must fall. So that also helps turn the USA to queer socialism. Could use some work, Benjamin, but I appreciate you. Anyway, yes, now you guys know what it means. And this is an article you can share out. Every single time someone's questioning, what does Queers for Palestine mean? Share this article. I even use bullet points. I use bullet points to explain the whole thing. Queer has nothing to do with being trans or gay. It's a far left political ideology. Queer liberation means the annihilation of capitalism, according to the Mary Nardini gang, authors of the Queer Marxism Manifesto. Leftists believe that Palestinians are fighting to decolonize land that was stolen from them by the settler colonists. Colonization means privatizing indigenous land under the oppressive force of capitalism. The far left believes that no one is free until everyone is free from capitalism. We've got citations on all of that. We've got Mary, our favorite socialist, who says the quiet part out loud all the time, explaining that specifically. We've also got links to videos talking about how intifada means worldwide socialist revolution. This is something you can share with normal people, guys. Every time someone is confused and they're like, but I don't understand. If the queers went to Gaza, they'd be thrown off a roof. Well, that misses the point entirely of what is going on. The fact that the right does not understand this. How long has this been going on? October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. This has been going on for 9 months. The fact that in 9 effing months, the conservative right does not yet understand what Queers for Palestine means is all the indictment that we need. That conservative influencers and conservative pundits have completely failed their audiences. And this is why I go so hard at James Lindsay. Not just that he's trying to cancel my work, not just that he's telling people, don't link to her, she's a narcissist. And by the way, I don't know what credential he has to call me a narcissist. I've had one conversation with the guy in my entire life. James Lindsay wants to put himself out as the savior of the world. He hasn't even explained this. He's missed the basics. And this is why people need to be out there sharing stuff. Stop waiting for other people to save you. We can get this information out there. We can build this community. We can get more people understanding what's going on, but everyone has to participate if you actually care about this. And I will give you ways that everyone can participate in this. So go over to the Substack right now, carlin.substack.com. You can share that article. You can find it out on the main page. I would really appreciate it. While you're there, if you feel like supporting the work I'm doing, please sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. Now, I've been a little lax about my subscriber goals lately, but I'll tell you, man, the economy's hitting some people hard, and I do understand that, and I do understand why sometimes people have to let a subscription to the Substack go because they've got to buy groceries and stuff like that. But I will say that I would like to see my subscriber numbers go up. I would. And so I'm setting a goal this month. I want 100 new paying supporters on the Substack this month. We used to hit this goal all the time, and then we got a little lax about it, and then inflation really started hitting, and so I pulled back. But if you can financially support my work, I'm not asking people who legitimately can't financially support it. I understand when people can't financially support it, but if you are in a position to financially support my work, I'm humbly asking that you do so. Because this is how I pay the bills. This is why I have so much time to research. This is why I have the time to sit here on streams with you guys and explain things. Trust me, super chats don't pay the bills, guys. This pays the bills. So if you want to see me keep doing this, if you want me to, give you everything I have to help get this information out there, I need you to show up. $8 a month, $80 a year. That keeps me in business. Of course, super chats are also nice if you want to do that as well. There are other ways you can support my work. You can find those on the Substack, but the memberships on the Substack are really, really critical, guys, because the monthly and annual donations are how I'm able to plan, because it's reliable, reoccurring income. Okay? And so that is the number one way that I would like people supporting my work. Another way you can support my work is by heading over to the Unwoke Art store, which is unwokeart.com. This is my merch store. If you want some cool swag, I've got some cool swag for you. We've got a couple new t-shirts that just got added to the store yesterday. Of course, we have the new limited edition Unwoke Wiki shirt, which I'm going to be bringing back all of the Unwoke Wiki shirts for a special kind of like, limited edition kind of like thing this month at some point, because some of the shirts are really cool and I feel like I didn't promote them as well as I should have. But I was inspired by the black MAGA hat that Trump did. And so I wanted to do a special kind of like black on black Plague Doctor shirt that just looks cool. So we got the new black on black Plague Doctor shirt for the Unwoke Wiki. Also, I'm working on a new series of shirts that I'm calling the Horror Show that are just for me. That are for me. Because I sometimes I want to do things that I just like doing without it necessarily being related to woke or, Marxism or any of those things. And one of the things I really like is horror movies and like this kind of cult, gritty, underground vibe. And so one of the things I'm doing is I'm actually making t-shirts based on things that haters on Twitter have said about me. So I'm calling it the Horror Show series. And so this is like the first shirt that I made last night. And this was based off a line. Someone said, "I'm a bottomless pit of dark." And so I made a horror movie poster that says "bottomless pit of dark" on it, and it's fucking cool. It's fucking cool. I'm sorry. I love this. And it's got this cool vibe where it kind of looks like a uterus. And it's like, is the person at the top, are they jumping into the hole or are they climbing out of the hole? So like all this symbolism. I'm really digging this design. I know it's kind of weird, and I know that not everyone likes this kind of thing, and some people find it a little bit too disturbing, but this is the stuff that I like. Okay? And so sometimes I'm going to do things that I like doing just because I like them and just because I think it's cool. So that is available in the store as well. The one with the purple, the Plague Doctor shirt with the purple, I will order. I'm obsessed with purple now. Yeah, I've got some good Plague Doctors in purple. The newest one isn't in purple because I just wanted it to be black on black. But you can get all sorts of cool stuff in the store. You can get the zine collection in the store. You can get the stickers. You can get the if you don't have a 4 Goals of the Woke Left shirt yet, come on. That's one of the coolest designs that exists in the store. It was by Bot. This is actually the only thing in the store that I haven't designed because Bot said I could use it. So that's really cool. Lots of great stuff in the store that you can pick up. The Dystopian series. I feel like the Dystopian series is really underrated, man. And of course, the classic, the iconic, Socialists Are Gay, if you want that. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the Unwoke Art store, guys. Of course, all merchandise purchases do go to support the work I'm doing. And so I would really appreciate that. All right, who's ready to watch some video? You guys ready? We today are watching Queer Yiddish Camp. Queer Yiddish Camp. This is a real thing. This YouTube channel has all sorts of woke stuff on it. It's literally called Queer Yiddish Camp. This is brand new. This was uploaded less than 24 hours ago. And you can see the facilitator is using fair pronouns. We've got a she, they over here. This looks like a they, them. And so let's just dig into it. And I think I don't know if I did see that they were speaking English. I scrolled through it just to make sure it's not in Yiddish. But I guess we're going to find out. Who's ready to take a workshop from Queer Yiddish Camp about neo-pronouns? Let's get this party started, guys. We're going to do this for about an hour and 10 minutes. Mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. Let's see what they had to say. Hang on, there's just music for a minute. The music. Music.
Interpreters. To turn on cap is as our cart captioner today, and Audra and Liana as our ASL interpreters. To turn on captions, click on Captions or Show Subtitles at the bottom of your screen. If you have any access needs come up during the event, a little bit about the accessible Yiddish arts and cultural programming online and in Toronto.
Hang on, we're going to fast forward through their announcements because we're crunched on time a little bit.
Islamophobia,
community
racism, homophobia.
Hang on. Here we go.
All right, thank you. We respect people's marginalized identities. No racism, homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, femphobia, whorephobia, sexism, ableism, sanism,
Femphobia.
classism, ageism, sizeism, Islamophobia, antisemitism, faith bashing, or other oppressive attitudes or behaviors. We don't assume anyone's race, disability, gender, or pronouns. If you don't know someone's pronouns, ask. If someone points out something we said or did was harmful, we avoid getting defensive, correct the harm when possible, and aim to do better next time. We avoid jumping in and correcting others or offering comments when it's someone else's turn, unless they specifically ask the group for input. We are patient with slower speakers. When we're speaking Yiddish, any and all efforts to speak in Yiddish are encouraged. We are mindful of the space we take up and share talking time with all others. If you tend to be someone who talks a lot, make space for others before sharing. If you tend to be someone who doesn't take space, we encourage you to. We keep ourselves muted when it's not our turn to speak, when it's not our time to speak, and we repeat anything said in Yiddish also in English so that everyone understands. Now let me tell you about our workshop facilitator. Fragel Gertzovsky is a non-binary queer, Fragel Gertzovsky is a non-binary queer, multiply crip-mad, post-Soviet, first-generation immigrant settler, white Ashkenazi Jewish, whose people are from present-day Moldova. Faye is a community-engaged arts and cultural producer, as well as writer, who lives, dreams, works, co-creates, prays, and heals in Toronto, and online. Fragel is the founder and director of Rad Yiddish and Queer Yiddish Camp, collectively building the liberatory and radical diasporic Yiddish futures we dream of and strive for.
Thank you so much, Circa. I'm just gonna pull up my little notes here. I'm Fragel, Faye Fair's pronouns in English, Faye Fair of Yiddish for visual access. I am a pale-skinned person with brown curly hair and
hang on, I'm gonna turn the mic up.
My shirt is yellow, and in the background there's the plant and the Sivan page of the Radical Jewish Calendar. And I'm just gonna I think, yes, Lilia will post in the chat the slides that you can look at. I will be sharing the screen throughout, but if you want them for yourself, you can follow that link in the chat. So welcome to the Yiddish Neopronouns workshop. This title page has Yiddish neopronouns in the middle and a checkered border with different colorful queer icons on it. The next slide, is there we go, the agenda. And today we are going to start by going over some definitions, then give a short history of the development of neopronouns in Yiddish, during which you'll hear various examples and how they're used. I will give one example also of how neopronouns from one language can be translated into another.
Yeah, so the reason they're giving the descriptions of what they look like, that's a disability studies thing where they're basically, it's like an accessibility thing where they're doing it for blind people.
And hopefully by the end of this workshop, we'll have many more examples from all of you. We're also going to be geeking out on grammar as we get to each example, so you can start to have a sense of how Yiddish pronouns work in nominative, accusative, and dative cases. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it at all. We will be getting to that. After that, there will be time for you to work in small groups or individually to come up with pronouns for yourself, or if you're not creating Yiddish pronouns for yourself today, you can offer assistance to someone coming up with theirs and workshop it together if they want that help. And you can also work independently if you wish. At the end, anyone who wants to share the pronouns you came up with is welcome to do so, and you can let us know if you want comments or feedback on your pronouns or not. We'll end with a group photo and a few announcements about upcoming events. So if at any point throughout the workshop you have a question, you can raise your virtual hand on Zoom and I will call on you, or you can put it in the chat. And I believe, yeah, Lilia is going to be the person telling me if there are comments in the chat or if I don't notice the raised hand while I'm sharing screen. Are there any questions so far? All right, so I want to start by taking a temperature check of how familiar people are with the Yiddish cases, the 3 Yiddish cases. So I have a sense of how much detail we might go to. On that part, we're going to cover this topic anyway, but just to have an idea of the room. So please hold your hand out horizontally if you can. in front of you. If you have zero knowledge of the Yiddish cases, you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can tilt your hand all the way down like so. If you've encountered them before, but you're still a bit confused about them, you can keep your hand flat. And if you're super comfortable with the Yiddish cases, and you know how they work and you know when and how to use them, your hand can go all the way up. So if I could get a little visual, yeah, it looks like we're about like between the flat and upper part of the spectrum with that, at least folks that are demonstrating it visually. So thank you so much for that. All right, now let's chat about pronouns. I'm going to share my screen again. This slide has a title that says neo/pro/nouns.
Shalom,
It
Swifty.
has some short definitions that will get us on a common page. Would anyone like to read them out nice and clear? Would someone like to raise their hand to offer to read it? Martin, please go ahead.
Neo-pronouns. Pronoun, a sound that stands in for a noun being a person, place, or thing, such as a person's name, usually single syllable because its intention is to be a shorthand. Pronouns are usually part of a set that declines or changes form across cases and often have a sound that unifies the set, but not always. For example, the dash dash at the beginning of they, them, and their. Should I continue or wait for the next person to read that?
Sure, if you want, you can keep going or we can call on someone else.
Okay, third person pronouns. Pronouns that refer to someone that the speaker is not directly speaking to. They are historically gendered in many languages, which leads to the creation of neo-pronouns that better reflect non-binary and genderqueer identities.
So this is actually a really good definition for us to have because I don't think we've actually come across something that has said it this clearly before. Traditional pronouns adhere to the gender binary. Neo-pronouns are specifically for non-binary because they want to abolish the gender binary. So neo-pronoun, anytime we see someone with neo-pronouns, something that is not she, her, he, him, then that's going to be something that signifies that they're queer, which means they want to abolish the gender binary. That means get rid of men and women. And that's the thing that's really dangerous. Okay.
Note, when speaking directly to a person in English, we must use you for any gender. So English neo-pronouns are usually only created for the third person. Neo-pronoun, a newly created after 1800 Common Era pronoun. Any sound, syllable, or word can be a pronoun.
Thanks so much, Martin. And do we have any questions about these definitions?
Any sound, syllable, or word can be a pronoun. So literally they're saying you can choose anything under the sun. There are an infinite number of genders, an infinite number of pronouns. That's because their goal is to abolish the gender binary. Non-binary means no binary, no men, no women.
Or anything so far? All right, so these might not be the most perfect definitions, but I think they get us on the same page about some of the words we'll be using throughout. All right, so on the next slide.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the neo-pronouns, can you give an example of any word, sound, or syllable that can be used as a pronoun? I don't really think of what you mean there. Should I know what that means? Since the 1800s, that's a long time. It's not yesterday.
Oh, yeah. So we will be going over some examples of neo-pronouns in this workshop. So you will have a few examples by the end. And also the after 1800 was just the like online Webster dictionary definition of a neo-pronoun. I think it's completely arbitrary. It means that it's like relatively new to the language, but I don't think it's a hard and fast rule. I did just remember before I jump to the next slide and give the answer away, I wanted to ask folks, can you think of any examples of non-binary pronouns in Yiddish? They can be neo-pronouns, but they don't have to be. So neo-pronouns are not any non-binary pronouns in Yiddish. I see in the chat. Also, feel free to raise your hand. Joshua says they. And
S.
S, yeah, Fatal says S. Raya says S.
Oh, so Yiddish has non-binary pronouns. Okay, well, all right, fine.
And Davy as well. All right, any other ones? That's a pretty good list so far. All right, that's really great. We're going to be discussing all these examples today, and also some other ones as well. So hopefully you didn't see too much of my next slide earlier when I clicked on it. This one's title is Yiddish neopronoun example 1. And on this slide, I have a chart of some Yiddish pronouns and their translations into English.
I didn't want to
We'll
be the
go
one
over
to say
each
that,
row.
but
The column headings are
true.
the cases, so nominative or subject, accusative or direct object, dative or indirect object, and possessive. Don't worry about the indirect versus direct object if you haven't encountered it before. English does not distinguish between them, but many languages, including Yiddish, do, and I'll be talking about it in a couple of slides.
Wait,
So this first example,
wait. Did Z, Zer come from Yiddish? This is one of the more popular like neo pronouns, Z, Zer. Did that come from Yiddish?
is the Yiddish neopronoun set as, zim, zir, zir. These pronouns are roughly equivalent to singular
Wow.
they, them, their in English. Below that, we have the binary Yiddish pronouns sie, sie, ihr, which translates to she, her, and the other binary ihm, sein, which translates to he, him, his. Non-binary Yiddishist and scholar Zohar Wyman-Kelman, who uses they, them, their in English and as, ihm, zir in Yiddish, develop these specifically Yiddish-sounding neopronouns by combining sounds from each case of the
Developed these specific Yiddish sounding pronouns. All roads lead back.
binary Yiddish pronoun sets. So hopefully you can see my mouse on the screen. By combining and z, we get es. Combining z and im, we get zim. Im and ir don't really combine to give zir, but is following the pattern of the z sound across the set. And sein and ir combine to give us zir. So any questions about this so far? This is our first example of a Yiddish neopronoun. We have where does it come from? Oh, hopefully I answered your question. Yeah, that's Zohar Wyman-Kelman came up with this set. And Davy says it seems more parallel to the English neopronouns z, zirs. Yeah, I don't know the history of where that pronoun set came from in English, but definitely a good comparison. I don't see everyone's hand, or like I don't see everyone on one screen.
Hang on. Everyone needs to be listening to what is being said. Archpope is not listening to what is being said. If you come into my chat and you are clearly not listening, I'm going to call you out and tell you to open your ears and stop talking, because when you're just doing this, you're not doing this. What was specifically said in the presentation is that the pronouns z, zim, zer were specifically developed to sound Yiddish. That is what was said. You are saying something different because you're not listening. This is literally the YouTube channel this is on is Queer Yiddish Camp. So I'm guessing Jewish kids.
And so hopefully, if anyone is, folks will let me know. And let's move on to the continuation of this chart. So on this next slide, we have the same chart with a few different rows. As I mentioned on the previous slide, the as pronoun set most closely corresponds to singular they, them, there, but as a non-binary neopronoun, it doesn't really have a direct translation. Instead, they, them, there most directly translates to the Yiddish they, zeh. While this is not a neopronoun set, as they are pronouns that already exist in the Yiddish language for the plural they are totally valid non-binary personal pronouns to use in Yiddish, just like we use singular they in English. Also, Yiddish has 3 singular gender pronouns, unlike English, which has 2. So the 2 non-binary ones we went over on the previous page, sie and but we have the other non-binary Yiddish pronoun, es, ihm, sein, which is most closely equivalent in English to its. Some people feel the pronoun it is objectifying, but it is some people's pronoun in English. So s is perfectly valid to use as a non-binary personal pronoun. However, I don't think it's actually accurate to say that s translates to the English it, or more accurately, I would say that it doesn't only mean it, because the binary pronouns sie and are also used to mean it sometimes. So when referring to objects, because of the way that in Yiddish, not only people, but objects.
Guys, you keep asking what group this is. It's literally called Queer Yiddish Camp. That is literally the name of the YouTube channel, is Queer Yiddish Camp. That is the name of the group.
Objects get one of 3 genders. So the, s can all mean it, but sie and can be people's personal pronouns. I also think that s can act like a singular they if people choose to use it that way. However, you'll notice the dative and possessive cases, ihm and sein, follow the masculine binary pronouns. So maybe someone wants the challenge of creating some slightly different neopronouns for the S series that feel more gender neutral, just putting that out there. On the next slide, I'm going to go into a bunch of example sentences that will further demonstrate the difference between direct and indirect objects. But before we get into that, are there any questions or comments on anything so far? Feel free to raise your hand or put it in the slide, in the chat. Yeah, Fagel.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to ask this, but I keep thinking about children. In normative Yiddish, they're free from gender until a certain age, right? And I don't know how that would fit into
what?
This.
Children are free from gender until a certain age in Yiddish? Does anyone know anything about that? Children are free from gender until a certain age?
Yeah, I think, yeah, because we say like
The neuter.
kind. I'm not really going to get into articles at all.
Okay, yeah, but what about like if I want to say it hurt the child, it's tut es imve, irve. If I want to say it's tut, how would you? That would be I'm using an accusative, right? For something hurts the baby, let's say.
That would be dative
Dative.
in that sentence. So because s uses like the masculine in the dative, you would say es tut imve. So that could be an instance where maybe someone wants to play around with that and create some neopronouns. And also you can use the as that as one example.
It says they. Yeah, I think I like that better.
Yeah, any other? Yeah. And we're going to be going into some example sentences in a minute. Are there any other questions? Everything clear so far? All right. Let me just see where I'm at.
We do have a hand. Yankel's hand is up.
Oh, great. Yeah, Yankel.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to say I came up with a possibility for that non-binary Yiddish pronoun. I wrote it in the chat. SS sim sign.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna.
With your, what you said in the very beginning about the base, that all of them, or most of them, have a common base like THE. So the S or the Z. So yeah.
Yeah, using the S as the
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, you're jumping ahead to the end of the workshop, already coming up with pronouns. I love it. That's so great. No, that's perfect.
Oh, they're going to
We're
come
gonna
up with all their own
even more.
pronouns in the
Thanks so much,
workshop.
Michael.
Oh, that's great.
All right, so moving on to some example sentences. This next slide says using a sentence. Would someone like to read the first example?
I can
You'll do
read.
it. Oh, thank you, Nish.
So use it in a sentence. Nominative and possessive. They throw a ball for their dog. Es warft a Spickel für ihr Hund. In the accusative, the dog licks them.
Hey, Chris. How many genders does the Talmud state exist? Can you let us know that?
Der Hund leckt them. Dative. The dog drops the ball in front of them. Der Hund tropft auf die Spielke in Verdeus von sie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nish. So as a reminder, nominative describes the subject or the actor of the sentence who is doing the action. In the example above, they is the actor doing the action throwing. Accusative and dative both describe the object of the sentence that is being acted upon or who is receiving the action. In the case of direct object, which is accusative, the action is being done directly upon them. So in the example above, them is being licked by the dog directly. And in the case of the indirect object or dative, the person is not being acted upon directly, but is somehow affected by the action. This almost always comes after a preposition like to, from, with, by, in, on, etc. So in the dative example above, the dog is the subject. The ball is the direct object of the action. The action being drops because it's not the person being dropped, it's the ball. So the ball is directly being dropped and the person
Well,
or them.
this might be the queering of Yiddish, or perhaps Yiddish was already queer, depending on your perspective, I suppose. The correct answer to the question I asked you is the Talmud has 8 genders. 8. Not 2. 8.
As we decline it in English, is the indirect object receiving the ball. So any questions here so far? Are we following? Are we totally lost? What I mean by these words?
It's like Fagel has a question.
Oh, great.
Okay, so I don't see on the nominative example, we're changing they from they to es warft a Spielkel, but I didn't think they implied binary gender in the first place. So why are we changing that?
Yeah, so for the English, I'm using the singular they in all the examples. And then in the Yiddish, it's not a direct translation. I'm using the Yiddish neopronoun as Zim Ziad.
You know, I guess
Guys, Human Centipede put multiple links in the chat earlier to all of this. So if you have questions about this, just scroll up in the chat because Human Centipede put like several articles about this that you can read.
I'm thinking I could use they as a neopronoun for singular they. No? Why does it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to indicate, because even in English, when people say, like if I say I want to use they as my pronoun, I think I am actually, in my mind, I'm including a plurality of selves in that pronoun.
So yeah, there's more than one way that they gets used in English. We won't focus on that too much, but singular they is
But
definitely
would people,
one of those.
people would feel not described if they used in Yiddish a pronoun like they for meaning themselves or himself, or, you know, like for a person. Am I the only one? I wouldn't find that to be excluding singularity. Okay.
I'm not sure I totally followed, but yeah,
Okay.
as is one possible pronoun set that people can use as a non-binary pronoun, and we're gonna look at some other examples too. Any other questions on declining All right, so would someone like to read the next example, please? Feel free to raise your virtual hand or put it in the chat if you'd like to read the next one. Oh, Martin, sure. Thank you.
Nominative. Faye is sitting on the porch. Faye sitzt auf den Gang. Accusative, the mosquitoes are biting. Fayer, die kommen Fayer bissen. Dative, a neighbor brought Fayer tea. Schochen hat für gebracht tea. Let's see. The one underneath possessive is chopped off. You'd have to raise it up for me to read it.
Oh, is that better or is it still?
It's still just partially visible, just a little bit higher.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit. This is a little bit clunky
All right.
for me to have them read the sentence.
Yiddish to Fayer. On the next slide, we're going to talk about this.
There we go.
This is another slide with a chart giving examples of pronouns declined in 4 cases. So again, the column headings are nominative or subject, accusative, or direct object, dative, or indirect object, and possessive.
This is
the
crazy.
Yiddish neopronoun they declines to fair, and this translates from the English fey, fair. I've also put the
Chris, we have now given you the answer like several times. We have provided you with multiple links in the chat. You can continue whining about the fact that you don't like the answer, or you can pay attention to the presentation going on. Which would you like to do? Because the point here is to listen to the presentation. It's not to whine about feelings. So if you don't believe, there's several links in the chat, bro, that you can avail yourself of. Scroll up. Your lived experience is not all that matters here. In fact, your lived experience doesn't interest me at all, if I'm being blunt.
Yiddish pronouns they, their, for comparison. So here's a little story, and I'm gonna stop share for this part. They is an English neopronoun that I chose for myself after years of using they as a placeholder that personally didn't fit me very well. It is definitely many people's personal pronoun. I moved into this queer activist punk house on the West Coast, and one of my new housemates used the they, their pronoun.
She moved into a queer activist punk house, which means she is a queer anarcho-communist. All right. So here's the thing. I want the arguing about the fucking number of genders in the Talmud to stop. It I want it to stop. It is not relevant to what we're talking about right now. And the reason that I want it to stop is that I want people listening to what is being said. Because I'm willing to bet that everyone who's concentrating on arguing and bickering in the chat did not hear what was just said by the presenter, which is actually more important than your fucking feelings. All right, Chris, I have now warned you to cut the shit on like 2 different occasions. Now I'm banning you. So you can go have your feelings somewhere else, bro. You're not here to learn. You're here to whine and complain. So goodbye. Jesus Christ. Rewind. Listen. Guys, it's only Monday. Can we please not descend into the land of full-on whining retardia until at least Wednesday? Can you please just give me a couple days? All right, Laquitius is getting put in a timeout. Does anyone else want to continue bickering in the chat? I'm going to be putting everyone in a timeout that continues to bicker in the chat. And if you come back and you keep bickering in the chat when I've told you to cut that shit out, I'm going to ban you. I don't know why this is difficult. The point is to listen to this. The point is not for you to get out your feelings in the chat. Is everyone on the same page? I do not care how you feel about there obviously and clearly being 8 fucking genders in the fucking Talmud. I do not care. Listen.
On the West Coast, and one of my new housemates used the they, their pronouns. Being a witchy person who identifies as part Fae.
What we just learned is that this person lived in a queer activist punk house. What does that mean? This is why we listen instead of bickering in the chat. What does that mean? This is how you learn how to pick up out on this stuff going on in the real world, guys. What does that mean? Why am I picking up on this? It's important. Why am I screaming at the chat to listen to what's in the video instead of bickering? What does that mean? No one has the right answer. Nope, no one has the right answer. No one has the right answer. Bot does not have the right answer. Two Ladies does not have the right answer. Rottweiler does not have the right answer. Nope, nope. Oh, Club is getting close. Close, not correct, but closer than most people. It wasn't a misspelling. You got the term wrong. Club. That's what that means. She's a queer anarcho-communist. Why do we care that she is a queer anarcho-communist? Why is this important? Why is it important that we be able to identify who's speaking to us? Shouldn't be a new one for you. I've been talking about this for weeks very heavily. You've been here the entire time, almost the entire time I've been talking about this. This shouldn't be new to you. And this, guys, is why we listen. This should not be new to anyone. Every single person who got a wrong answer should have known this. And this is why we do not bicker in the chat. This is why we don't get out our feelings in the chat. This is why we pay attention. Why is it important that we know this? It reveals their ideology. It means they were probably influenced by the farthest of the far left, by like the Mary Nardi gang, the most radical revolutionary conservatives. Or not conservatives, communists, not conservatives, opposite of conservatives, communists, sorry. I misspoke. Why is it important that we know this? No, this is not a pipeline to queer Marxism. This is queer Marxism. This is not a pipeline. This is queer Marxism. This is gain of function Marxism. That's what this is. That means that she is committed to abolishing the gender binary in the family. Does she seem like someone that looks crazy just on the face of it? Does she seem like someone who's insane? Just if you ran into her on the street and she just has this nice, and she's just talking to you, and she's very nice, and she has this nice voice, and she's dressed very nice, and she looks relatively normal. She doesn't have purple hair. She's not screaming. She doesn't have tattoos. She doesn't have... Does she look like someone who's insane? No, she doesn't. The only way we know what she's doing and what her goals are is because she just told us that she lived in a punk anarchist house. That's the only reason we know. And the only reason that we know that she lived in a punk anarchist house is because I was listening to the video while everyone else was bickering in the chat about the fucking Talmud. and I removed the people in the chat who were causing the disruption. This is why I do not allow disruptions in my chat. This is why. Does everyone get this? You would not know by her looks or by her approach or any of this that she is a queer anarcho-communist that wants to abolish the gender binary and the family. And she's out there doing these workshops to advance these ideas that are explicitly designed to abolish the gender binary and the family. And she's doing it in a very nice way where she's just very nice and she doesn't look crazy and she's not yelling and she doesn't have pink hair. And you would never, ever, 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 ever know what she is if you were not listening. So I know that people don't, that some people don't like my tone when I'm telling people in the chat to shut the fuck up and pay attention. I know that a lot of people don't like that I block and ban people and time people out when they are not shutting the fuck up and paying attention. But does everyone understand why I'm doing that? I'm not just doing it to be a bitch. I'm doing it because if you don't pay attention, you don't learn this. And learning is the entire goddamn point. This is my classroom. I am the teacher. You are the student. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. If you're going to disrupt it with your feelings, go somewhere else. If all you want to do is talk about your lived experience, go somewhere else. I do not care. I care about you learning what is right in front of you. That is what we're doing here.
The they, their pronouns. Being a witchy person who identifies as part fae or fairy, I knew I had found my pronouns. I was like, oh my gosh, why hadn't I learned about this sooner? Really often it's not until we're exposed to other options that we even think to make a change or think there could be other possibilities. But I pretty quickly started using those pronouns in English. And I just asked my friend Tareem recently and was told that they learned of the pronouns from an organization called -18, based in so-called Australia, that I'd never heard of until 2 weeks ago when I asked Farah about it. So this organization has a neopronoun resource game on their website that you can check out and practice neopronouns on. I forgot to grab the link, but I will definitely put it in the chat.
A neopronoun resource game that they're using in kids in school. Isn't that nice?
Later, because I thought it was really fun. Anyway, back to this story. When I first entered Yiddish land, I started using singular they for a little while because I didn't know of other pronoun options. I don't actually remember when I made the change, but I decided at some point, hey, why don't I try to spell out my English pronouns into Yiddish letters, or at least the closest approximation, because Yiddish doesn't really have the AE sound. In transliteration, they were they, yud yud, and ber, be, ayin besh. So where did beir come from? Well, I've been using this they pronoun set for a while, and the possessive beir, maybe I'll just share screen back again for this part. Yeah, you can see here the possessive zayed. I wanted it to sound a little bit more Yiddish and make it sound similar to the non-binary Yiddish pronouns that I'd already gotten used to using. So I changed there to Beir. And at this point, I did not really consider this new pronoun set to be a set of Yiddish neopronouns. Since Fae is an English word, I thought they were inherently English pronouns and that I was, quote, just transliterating. Now, the thing about neopronouns, and I did mention this at the top in the definitions, is that they're really just a sound that is essentially a made-up word. So although they might be created by someone in their native tongue, like English, essentially you can use the same sound in any language, as long as you match a sound to each case in that language. So in Yiddish, we looked at 3 cases plus the possessive. But for example, Russian has 6 cases, Ukrainian has 7, which means if you were to translate a pronoun into those languages, you might want to create additional pronouns for each of those cases, but you can also repeat the same sound across cases as we.
So what they're saying, and yes, she does mean fae as in fairy. We've seen this pronoun before in a psychotherapist, actually. So what they're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they're basically taking all of these crazy neo-pronouns and they're trying to make Yiddish like translations of those pronouns so that people can also use them in Yiddish. So like the Zim Zer thing, that was something that was like created specifically because because of Yiddish. But all this other stuff, they're trying to take it and like jerry rig it so that it works in Yiddish.
Saw in a lot of the examples today. So a little bit down the line, I have friends and colleagues citing my Yiddish pronouns in their articles, course materials, presentations, or advocating that when others create resources about Yiddish gender and pronouns, that these they, fair, fair pronouns absolutely had to be included as one of the examples of non-binary Yiddish pronouns along with they and es. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am so flattered, but no, you have it all wrong. Like these are not really Yiddish pronouns. And I find it kind of funny now that I thought this way, that despite the fact that I modified the pronouns to sound more Yiddish and that they only existed that way in Yiddish, and I was writing them in Yiddish letters, I think it was only recently that I really accepted that, oh, I did create a Yiddish neo-pronoun set. I think it was even after I came up with the idea to run this workshop that it really sunk in for me, like, oh yeah, like these are Yiddish neo-pronouns. Like, okay, valid, you can cite me if you want. But I want you all to feel empowered to do the same, that you can also create Yiddish neo-pronouns. So very shortly, we're going to be moving into breakout rooms for about 20 minutes. And you have the option to stay in this main room if you want to work on your own. You could just ignore the invitation to join a breakout room when it comes. If you do join a breakout room, there will be about 2 to 3 people in each room. You can take turns sharing your ideas aloud and workshopping them, giving feedback on ways to make your new pronouns sound more Yiddishlich, or how to create a unified set across the cases with a similar sound. You can structure your time how you want in the breakout rooms, but there will be pop-up notifications letting you know how much time is left. And consider the 2 strategies that we discussed today. So,
Fragel, could I pause for just a moment with some questions from the chat?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. Going back up, I don't know if it's Kayla or Kyla is asking about the spelling in Yiddish or OCS and Yiddish letters of Fei, Fair, Fairs. Is it Fei, Ayin, Ayin, Fei, Ayin,
Yeah,
Yud,
let me put that in the chat.
Yeah. And then some discussion about the origin of Fei, Fair in English. One source is citing it as created in 2014 by Tumblr user Shadorus. Pavel sharing Polish. In Polish, we have a whole grammatical neo-gender with a link there. And then Davey adding, I'm 99% sure I heard Fei, Fair, Fairs in English before 2014. Like a long time before that, I think probably more than one person, quote, invented them.
Yeah, I think that is also likely that it wasn't one person. I think when you have like a community or community, you know, like people who maybe practice like certain like Celtic traditions and like the Fae are an important part of that culture, then like maybe more than one person was like,
what?
hey, I identify with that.
She's identifying as a fairy because of important Celtic traditions, as she's also teaching a Yiddish class.
Is going to be a pronoun that I create. But yeah, I don't know the origin other than my friend Tareen, who told me they learned about it from like an Australian queer organization. I'm really glad to hear about other origins. All right, so in
and yes. One more practical question. If someone is using ASL interpretation for the breakout rooms, could you give instructions on how that will work?
Yeah, that is what I'm getting to next. So thank you so much for prompting that. I'm going to just talk about the 2 strategies and remind folks of what we discussed up to this point. So Zohar's neo-pronouns as Zim, Zir take existing Yiddish pronouns as their launching point. And my neopronouns, they, fer, are
I want to just go right to the
transliteration
breakouts.
from another.
I want to skip over all this preamble and instruction.
Welcome back, everyone.
They,
I hope you
them,
had some fruitful conversation. I'm really, really excited to
they,
learn
it.
what
This person is
you all
using
came up
they,
with.
it pronouns. You see that?
You're literally building the Yiddish language today, and that's really beautiful. We probably won't have time to hear from everyone, but what we'll do is give each person who wants to share literally 1 minute just to share the pronouns that you came up with. If you want to share anything about your process to get there, you can share that as well. And if you came up with more than one set, maybe just share your favorite one so we hear it from as many people as possible. I'm going to pause the recording after this explanation and only record folks who don't mind being on the recording. There are some folks who couldn't make it live, and I'm sure they would really love to learn what you came up with and hear even more examples from you all, but definitely no pressure. So when it's your turn, I'll first ask you if you want to be recorded, then please tell us your name and give a quick visual description for access. And then you can type the pronouns in transliteration, so in Latin letters, in the chat.
Would this be working against what we saw in the abolishing gender stream? Nope. Nope. Again, and I feel like we said this quite a bit, but I feel like you're not getting it yet. What we saw in the abolished gender stream is the most extreme far left interpretation. That's where everything is going. Where most of the left is right now is in terms of moving everyone from the binary, men and women, to non-binary, getting rid of men and women. The idea of removing all labels is something that most of the left is not thinking about, even when we're talking about the revolutionary left. That stream, which again, I emphasized many, many, many times on that stream, is the farthest left that I've ever seen. Most leftists right now are about abolishing the gender binary. So no, it does not work against what they're saying. The next step after getting a critical mass of people to abolish the gender binary is abolishing labels entirely.
At first, because that will really help our car captioner and ASL interpreters know how you're spelling it. Then you can tell us how you're pronouncing your pronouns aloud. Let us know if you'd like comments or feedback on your pronouns. And if so, what type of comments or feedback you want. For example, you might want to hear a few people use your pronoun in a sentence about you so you can feel how they land for you. Or you might have a question or be stuck on something and want suggestions for how to address it. It might be that you just want some affirmations and cheers like, yay, we super love your new pronouns, or nothing at all, in which case we'll say thank you and move on to the next person. Okay, so by raising your virtual hand, please let me know if you'd like to be called on. All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ilana in English or Lunker in Yiddish. I guess a visual description, I'm a white person with short hair and square glasses. I'll write it in English. It's hard to write in English. This is the one that I came up with. Not necessarily for me. I just was enjoying playing around with a lot of letters, and I like this one because it has the character Sadi in Yiddish, which is not found in English. And I also like it because, to my understanding, C is kind of like a question indicator, and I kind of like the idea of like ambiguity in the pronoun. I do not have any feedback, but I appreciate folks listening.
Thanks so much, Alana. I love that. Anyone else? Yeah, Yankel's saying Sierra is related to adornment and jewelry, which I think is very fabulous and clear. All right, so Yankel, if you want to share with us what you came up with near the beginning of the workshop.
Sure, I guess it was just a play on S. So it was like Sayer. Oh no, SS. I don't remember it. I wrote it in the chat earlier.
I mean, this might seem like an innocent little exercise, but does everyone get what's going on here? So essentially, this person, the queer anarcho-communist who looks really like innocuous and maybe like she could be a kindergarten teacher, is doing this workshop with these people where she is having them come up with their own Yiddish neo-pronouns. And those can be anything. And those neo-pronouns are supposed to replace whatever pronouns they're using now. And presumably most of them are still using like she, her, he, him, which are in the gender binary. And so the whole point of this workshop is to push them to get outside of the gender binary. Does everyone understand this? Yeah, it's about normalizing this. And it doesn't look or sound dangerous at all, and it's not sexy, and so people don't want to watch it, and it's boring, and I don't want to watch it, it's boring. And what I want people to hear is they aren't just doing this at queer Yiddish camp. They're doing workshops like this, separate from the Yiddish, with your kids in elementary school. Exactly. Gloria knew where I was going. They do this we have seen them do this exact same workshop, separate from the Yiddish stuff, with kids in elementary school. That's why upwards of 40% of kids think that they are genderqueer or gender nonconforming, because they are learning it through workshops like this in school.
Oh yeah, I scrolled back up and I found it. So it was SS seam sign.
Seam sign, yeah. It's kind of fun. But I love
This
the
guy has no idea what's going on. No idea.
See, the question thing. That was so cool, and that's what made me think of the jewelry thing. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, I feel like so even though this pronoun started with a particular letter, like Sadi, and then declined it, kind of rhyming with some existing Yiddish pronouns to have the ear endings. You noted, Yanko, that it created a word, and I think it would also be a really cool exercise to start with the Yiddish word, kind of like how the they pronouns were created in English. It started with they, an English word, and created a pronoun set around it. And so I think we could think of Yiddish words that resonate with our identities, like maybe someone really femme who likes jewelry is like, see it, and I'm gonna play with that. So maybe there's like a different Yiddish word that represents something.
Don't you think Faye resonates with Fagel?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my name Fragel is a little bit off topic for the workshop, but
yeah,
if we had a bit of time, my name is a portmanteau. I wanted a Yiddish name. Very few non-binary Yiddish names exist. Most of them are quite gendered. And so I took a bunch of words that I really like in Yiddish and swished them into a name. So I took like fragen, which I feel is really similar kind of wavelength to see. It's like a question. It's like I'm curious and I'm asking, and like I annoyingly question everything, and don't settle on just one answer. And then there's like freilich, which is happy and queer, and bagel, which is bird and queer, and bregish, which is like the Phrygian mode that klezmer music is often written in. So I stuck it all into the same bagel. So I think even though this is about names and not about pronouns, I think you could take a really similar approach when thinking about pronouns. Be like, what's a word that resonates with me, and how can I play with it? Does someone want to throw a word out there? Maybe we can like on the spot come up with a set based on a word. Oh, and there's more in the chat, so I'm going to read that first. Sorka says, perhaps too literal, but kfir, kfirin, kfirin, kfirs. Yeah, that's great. And Lilia says, I feel like we could have a similar workshop on creating Yiddish names. Very true. Maybe that's the spin-off to this workshop. So I'll give folks a moment to put like a little Yiddish word in the chat. It could be any word. And meanwhile, I'm going to read Corbin's comment about codes, pronouns. Codes is from comrade. I didn't know that. I love that.
Did they just say that there was a Yiddish pronoun that comes from comrade? And again, this is why we listen. This is why we listen to the boring shit. Again.
Comment about codes, pronouns. Codes is from comrade. I didn't know that. I love that.
Co for comrade. Seriously.
I know a lot of you know Yiddish and know more than one Yiddish word. So let's just throw any Yiddish word, the first one that comes to mind, and put it in the chat. Or if you want to raise your hand and say it aloud, that's fine too. Yam. Thanks, Nish. And do you want to say what it means?
The seed.
The seed. Yeah, that's beautiful. And Raya says hot. Okay, so let's start with yam. What would you define that to? Would you change any letters?
Loquacious, I like you, I really do, but there's no agree or disagree with the source. The source is. The source just is. You don't negate the source by saying, I disagree with the source. Well, that actually doesn't change anything. The source is still the source.
Add letters. Oh, Yankel, were you raising your hand? No. We could do the thing where we rhyme it with some of our pronouns that end in "im" and "ir," so maybe it would become "yim" and "ir."
Hang on, let's just fast forward because we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon. They're like doing some workshop thing. Hang on.
Or Lovely Cart and ASL folks.
Let me just see. She had a closing slide or something. Maybe not.
Beautiful. Amazing.
All right. All right. We're just gonna end it there. I think we've gotten what we've gotten from this. I think it was an interesting exercise to hear. I mean, first of all, that this is even being taught in the first place. And check this out. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff on this YouTube channel. Check this out. Radical Yiddish activist songs. Zine making workshop for queer lefty Yiddish futures. That might actually be something interesting to watch for tomorrow. Yiddish zines. A cabaret fundraiser for queer lefty Yiddish whatever. Whole bunch of stuff on this channel. Loquacious, you're seeing it right in front. You've already derailed the stream, bro. But you're actually derailing the stream in literally the most stupid possible way you could derail the stream. The source is right in front of you right now. You can hope and wish upon a star all you want. The source is the source. It's right in front of you right now. This is not up for debate. This is not up for discussion. The source is, I just don't even know what else to say. Loquacious, I would do a better job of like picking my battles, because you coming in and saying the source is not the source is not a battle that you are ever going to win. It's not a battle that you ever have any hope of winning. It's a stupid fucking battle, bro. And it misses the point entirely. And as you can see from the many times that I've addressed you in this stream, it distracts from the entire thing. And I'm going to be very blunt with you, bro. You do that again on my stream, I will ban you. I like you. I know who you are. You've been around a while. But if you ever do this on the stream again, where you come in and you distract and you distract and you distract and you distract and you get warned and you get timed out, I'm not going to let the fact that I like you keep you from banning it the next time. No, bro. If you ever do this again, I'm going to ban you. And that's all we're going to say. I just can't even. I cannot even. I cannot fucking even. We're going to wrap the stream up there. I'm going to do a supporter call at 7 p.m. Loquacious, I'm advising you not to come on it. If you had any thoughts of coming on it, I would recommend not. To be very, unless you want to get yelled at, I'll yell at you again. But like, all right, we're doing a supporter call at 7 p.m. Anyone that is actually interested in like doing stuff and not arguing over stupid shit and nonsense, if you would like to get access to that call, let me show you where to go. And I promise I will be in a better mood for people who are on the call who have not spent the entire 2 hours arguing with me. If you want to join the supporter call, head over to the Unwoke Roundup email, then scroll all the way down to the bottom. And underneath this red box for paid supporters only, if you are a paid supporter, you will get access to the private Zoom links. You will get access to the supporter Discord. If you've never been to a supporter call, come join us. And yeah, that's all we got for right now, guys. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.